Have you ever sabotaged yourself because of a feeling that exploded at the wrong time? Have you ever made one of those decisions you knew would end badly, but still went ahead with it just because you were angry, tired, anxious, or frustrated? Yeah, here's the thing. It's not your fault. It's your brain operating in survival mode. But the question that changes everything is, how long are you going to live as a hostage to your emotions? Some people believe the secret to success is turning emotions off. That to be respected, you need to be 100% rational all the time. But neuroscience is screaming. That's a lie. Emotion is not the problem. The problem is not knowing how to use it. And when you learn how to interpret what you're feeling, instead of running from it or repressing it, you unlock a level of clarity, productivity, and professionalism that feels like magic. But it's not. It's science. It's emotional intelligence in action. If you feel like no matter how hard you try, you always end up stuck in the same emotional patterns, then this video is for you. Because today, we're going to shift your perspective into one where your emotions stop being the enemy and start becoming your greatest allies. And that could change absolutely everything. Some people still believe that to be successful, you need to turn off your emotions and operate in robot mode, as if rationality were the same as coldness. But that's not how it works. Neuroscience, backed by the work of Antonio Damasio, has already proven emotions are essential to decision-making. You can't be a high-performance individual if you're constantly at war with what you feel. Think about it. Imagine a leader who tries to stay neutral all the time, ignoring emotions. That same leader misses the timing of an important conversation, fails to notice a teammate's tension, doesn't feel the weight of their own words, and the team crumbles. Emotions aren't obstacles, they're data. They're powerful signals that, if interpreted with emotional intelligence, become strategic fuel for personal and professional growth. They're like an internal GPS pointing the way, if you know how to listen. Of course, no one's saying you should explode in the middle of a meeting or cry during a pitch. It's not about feeling or not feeling. The key is self-regulation, the daily practice of noticing, understanding, and using emotions to your advantage. It's ongoing training, like building emotional muscle. And that leads us to one of neuroscience's most fascinating discoveries. Antonio Damasio conducted a compelling experiment. Patients with damage to specific areas of the brain that regulate emotion were completely rational. On paper, they could analyze, calculate, and logically understand every detail. But they couldn't make decisions. They'd get stuck on even the smallest things, like choosing between chicken or fish for lunch. What did that prove? Without emotion, practical decision-making becomes impossible. Pure logic doesn't hold up on its own. Now, think about this. How many times have you chosen the most logical path, only to feel something inside you slowly breaking? That's because reason without emotional connection is like a sandcastle. Pretty, but fragile. Your emotional state is the backdrop to every decision you make. It gives weight. It sets priorities. It creates momentum. And more than that, it makes your choices human. Because at the end of the day, we don't live to be a perfect equation. We live to make sense of what we feel. So no, emotional intelligence isn't just some self-help trend. It's a practical path for anyone who wants more clarity, more professionalism, and higher performance. Your brain needs your body, and your body needs your soul. A powerful exercise? Start keeping a journal of your most important decisions, and note how you felt right before each one. You'll be surprised at the emotional patterns shaping your choices. And once you see that, you'll understand that emotions aren't your enemies. They're your most strategic allies. You know that sudden pit in your stomach that shows up out of nowhere? Or that feeling that something's off, even when everything seems fine? That's not drama. It's your body trying to tell you something. Negative emotions like fear, anger, or frustration work as internal alarms. They protect you, slow you down, make you think twice. They're signals that something needs to be reevaluated before you move forward with a decision. At the same time, when you feel excitement, lightness, or that strange sense of peace, even in unfamiliar situations. That says a lot too. It's like your brain giving you a gentle nudge, saying, "Go this way." These positive emotions indicate alignment with your values, your purpose, your truth. And in the world of productivity and high performance, that's pure gold. Because when a choice resonates, action flows. It feels like the universe is conspiring. But in reality, it's just you operating in coherence. So next time you're facing a tough decision, take a deep breath and ask yourself, what is my body feeling right now? What is this emotion trying to tell me? This act of inner listening is one of the most powerful tools for anyone serious about personal development, because the secret isn't to silence your emotions. It's to learn how to use them as a compass. And speaking of internal signals, there's one factor that amplifies everything, often without us realizing it. Think about it. Have you ever tried to make an important decision while hungry? Or had a serious conversation after a terrible night's sleep? Exactly. The truth is, your physical state directly affects your emotional state, and your emotional state shapes your logic. When your body is out of balance, filled with pain, tension, or fatigue, your mind reacts in distorted ways. Self-control fades, mood swings take over, clarity disappears. That's why taking care of your body isn't luxury. It's a high-performance strategy. Sleeping well, eating quality food, moving your body, all of it impacts your emotional intelligence more than you think. A simple cold shower can interrupt a spiral of anxiety. A 15-minute walk can lift your mood for hours. Your body is your internal environment. And if that environment is in chaos, don't expect to make calm, grounded decisions. Imagine a professional trying to stay productive while battling reflux, back pain, and a bloodstream full of caffeine. The odds of them snapping at someone or making poor decisions, very high. And it's not a character flaw. It's a system that's overwhelmed. Training the body is also training the mind. And once the body starts cooperating, your thinking clears, and that opens up the perfect space for something even more powerful to come into play. The problem has never been feeling too much. The problem is not knowing what to do with what you feel. Emotional intelligence isn't about becoming some untouchable monk or someone who doesn't let anything get to them. It's about learning to recognize your feelings, give them a name, and choose the best response, not just the most automatic one. The difference between an emotional outburst and a mature response, it's the space you give yourself to breathe before reacting. Let's be real. Everyone has their triggers. Some snap in traffic, others with criticism, others when they feel unheard. But emotionally intelligent people aren't the ones who never get irritated. They're the ones who notice the moment irritation starts and redirect it. And yes, that's a trained skill. You can start small. Next time something bothers you, instead of reacting on impulse, ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling right now? That kind of self-awareness changes everything. Because the more you understand your emotional patterns, the more freedom you gain to choose your behavior. And that freedom is what separates impulsiveness from professionalism. As that emotional maturity grows, even the moments that used to feel like disasters start to lose their power. Spilled coffee, flat tire, a stubbed toe at 7 a.m. No longer life-ruining events. Want an example? Picture this. You wake up late, stub your toe on the bed, spill coffee on your shirt, lock your keys inside the house. Yeah, it feels like the start of a cursed day, right? But here's the trick. None of it becomes a tragedy unless you give it that meaning. People with strong emotional self-regulation train their perspective for these moments. Instead of spiraling, they pause, breathe, and take control. It's the mindset of, okay, this happened, now what? Instead of being consumed by the chaos, they refocus on what they can control. Locked out? Call a locksmith and use the wait time to answer emails. Spilled coffee? Change your shirt and laugh it off. Who knows? Maybe it becomes a great story at work. This kind of instant reframe is a total game changer. It puts you in the role of emotional protagonist, not a victim of circumstance. But of course, this takes practice. And that practice begins with a decision to stop treating inconveniences as personal attacks from the universe. Because when you change the meaning, you change the reaction. And when you change the reaction, you change your life. That lighter, more strategic lens starts rewiring your brain for solutions, not for drama. And that is where an even deeper process begins, one that goes far beyond in-the-moment reactions. The way you interpret situations directly shapes the course of your life. And no, this isn't just a pretty idea. It's pure neuroscience. The human brain creates maps of meaning for everything. Words, gestures, events, memories. And those maps become the lens through which you experience the world. To reframe is to update your mental GPS. You take a route that used to lead straight to chaos and program a new one, more conscious, lighter, more functional. Let's take an example. Losing a job can feel like the end of the world. For someone with the old map that says, getting fired means I'm a failure. But for someone who reframes it as, this is my chance to pursue something that aligns with my purpose, it becomes liberating. Same situation, two completely different meanings, and therefore two completely different emotional outcomes. One person spirals, the other grows. That ability to reinterpret is one of the most powerful forces in personal development. And the wildest part, it's trainable. You can start today. Pick a situation that still hurts. Now write a new version of it. One where you came out stronger, wiser, or more resilient. This literally rewires your brain. It reduces the emotional charge tied to that memory. When you learn how to give the right weight to each experience, you stop carrying the whole world on your back. And that changes everything, especially your relationships. Because let's be honest, relationships don't fall apart from lack of love. They fall apart from a lack of emotional intelligence. It's easy to love when things are smooth. The real test comes during friction, when a careless comment stings, when silence turns into punishment, when emotion explodes before dialogue has a chance to begin. That's when those who've trained in self-regulation shine, not because they swallow their feelings, but because they choose how to respond, even in chaos. Picture someone who used to react impulsively, raising their voice, slamming doors, cutting others off mid-sentence, all because they didn't know how to handle the inner storm that certain situations stirred up. But over time, through consistent inner work, they began to practice emotional control. They started breathing first, listening more than reacting, and slowly, the arguments faded. The home became lighter. Even conflicts became opportunities for connection, not because the problems disappeared, but because emotional maturity took the wheel. Healthy relationships aren't emotion-free. They're built by people who know how to use emotions wisely. And that goes for everything. Love, friendship, work. When you know how to self-regulate, you become a mirror of stability for those around you. That balance creates an atmosphere where even the hardest conversations can flow. Now, imagine bringing that level of maturity into your professional life. Because here's what so many people still get wrong. Some people still believe that being professional means being cold, that you can't show emotion, can't get shaken, can't even breathe differently. Because if you do, you lose your posture. But that outdated mindset, it's slowly being left behind. Real high performance comes from those who know how to combine technical skill with emotional intelligence. That person who not only knows what they're doing, but also how to speak, how to listen, how to lead with empathy without losing firmness. Professionalism isn't about erasing emotions. It's about handling them with balance. A leader who denies their emotions becomes a ticking time bomb, but a leader who understands their triggers and manages their emotional state creates a more productive, healthier environment. And this applies everywhere, from the office to the front lines, from the boardroom to the clinic. Ever met a doctor who's technically brilliant, but treats patients like numbers? That's exactly what we're talking about. Skill without humanity is only halfway there. And here's the most interesting part. This refined emotional ability, it can be learned. It's trainable. It's observational. It's the kind of skill that turns tense meetings into productive conversations and difficult clients into opportunities for connection. The key is to stop trying to be a robot and start being a strategically balanced human. So now that all this is clear, maybe it's time to start looking at your own emotions differently, right? So tell me, now that you understand the power behind every emotion, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep exploding at everything and blaming the world for your stress? Or are you going to take the wheel of your own mind and finally start training that emotional self-control that separates amateurs from professionals? Because the truth is simple. Either you master your emotions, or your emotions will keep mastering you. Have you ever stopped to think? How many opportunities have you missed because you acted on impulse? How many important conversations were ruined by poorly chosen words? And worst of all, how many decisions did you make in the heat of the moment and regret immediately after? Exactly. But here's the good news. You can change that, and it starts with small actions. Taking a breath before reacting, taking care of your body, identifying your emotional triggers, reframing what still weighs you down. And if this message made sense to you, if it sparked something inside, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because here, we'll keep diving deeper into this conversation about emotions, rationality, self-control, emotional intelligence, and everything that fuels your personal growth. And remember, it's not about feeling less. It's about feeling better. And that, my friend, is what builds a meaningful life.